I mean, apart from you guys being, knowing the brutality of stand-up and the immediacy of that and having to be on, because as everybody knows, Woody's notoriously fast. He shoots from the hip. He's like a freight train. I mean, there were so many theatre animals, Bobby Cannavale and wonderful Sally Hawkins and Peter and Alec, have all done theatre. And so there was a sense that everyone understood the subtext of the piece. And I think that's what Woody does, is 97% of his direction is in the script. And it was, he's an impeccable dramatist. It was beautifully structured, the screenplay. And so none of those pieces are going to disappear. And so you can trust the structure of the piece. And then he throws that open to the actors to bat it back against each other.
Tell us about Jasmine. How did you find her center and find where she lives? There's
no center. That's the thing. It's just... she's different things with different people, and she's a grand character with a tragic flaw, and that is that her epic delusion. And there were so many things that Woody didn't seem to think were particularly interesting or unusual, but the fact that she changed her name at an early age from Jeanette to Jasmine, the fact that she's adopted, so she's estranged from her biological beginnings, and she said about establishing a fairy tale life for herself, and that in fact that in and of itself was a fantasy. Her marriage was based on a fallacy. So there's no center, there's nothing for her to grasp onto. And I think that's what sent her into freefall.
Is that what, do you guys talk about that? Do you and Woody talk about that? You don't?
No, I think he puts all those clues there. And Jasmine herself is searching for clues as to why she's ended up where she's ended up. I did watch that extraordinary documentary on Woody, to see what other actors' experiences had been. And uniformly, people were saying, you get one take if you're lucky, and he's not particularly forthcoming with his direction verbally on set. So I was prepared for that. But I don't know how else to perform if it's not in dialogue with other actors. What other actors do completely influences the way you respond. I just ask Woody questions and he'd answer them. So, in fact, there was a dialogue. I said, "How would you do it, Mr. Allen?" And he would say, "Well," and he got quite Blanche-like, actually, in his response. He said, "Well, if I was playing the part," so it was... what makes it absurd and tragic is that you've got characters who've got such conflicting wants and needs, and they're all hell-bent on achieving them, and they're utterly incompatible. So, Sally and I did a lot of talking about where we'd come from and why she'd left. And at the base, we wanted to establish something where that there was a genuine love between the sisters. It's just that their circumstances and their life choices and the opportunities that have presented to them were so radically different. I'm interested in creating characters that are thrown back at the audience to like or dislike, to judge positively or negatively. I don't believe in sentimentalizing a character, but I suppose an empathetic connection I had with her is that she's not someone who's ever had any sense of agency. She's given that over to her husband, and there's a myriad of women who do that because of their role modeling has suggested that that's the way you behave with men. But I kept thinking, she keeps talking about, I want to go back to school, I want to become something. She actually wants to claim and discover an identity. She just doesn't know where to begin. And she's such a heady cocktail of guilt and rage and grief and loss and fear and, apart from being on a cocktail of Xanax and Stoli martinis, and so I think that's she's desperately searching to find out who she is.
Right. Number one, when I met Sally, it was at the beginning. I didn't even really get to meet her. It was at the beginning of a scene, the scene where we're in the hotel room. We come home like after the party, and she's undressing me, whatever.
Was that the first thing you shot?
That was the first thing I had to film with her. And, she had that real, accent, that East Coast accent. And, I thought she was great at it. But then after the scene, after what he said cut, she started talking to me with her British accent.
You're right.
And I'm going, "You're not from here?" She was like, "Oh, no, how do you do that?" and then to see Cate work the way she does and how into her character she is, they're just chameleons. They just become that person. And it's really, as a performer, as an actor, it was great for me just to watch them do that. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable to see. We all have big show business histories here, but, from day one, no matter where my career went, up, down, in the middle, I never got used to it and went, this is what I am, this is who I am. It's always new, because, I always believed in, keeping belief in what you do as a performer, and always, for whatever reason, the fire in me just constantly burns to do more. And it's very inspiring when you wind up doing a film like this. Number one, I came over to Cate last night because, obviously we haven't been hanging out that much. You know what I mean?
We've been living in different
she
countries.
lives in different, in Australia. But I had to tell her, I go, I've seen you in so many things, but this was just like a stellar performance. It was like unbelievable for me to watch. And I pick up on other things than even the lines. Like, there were a few times in the movie, and I don't know why I love it so much, because I don't know if it was in the script or it would just happen, but her instincts, for instance, when she gets out of the car, when she makes Peter pull to the side, she drops a bag. For whatever reason, as crazy as she's going, she's picking up all the little things, putting it in the bed. Happened a couple times in the movie. You did it with Alec when he was telling you about the girl he's in love with. And no matter what, Jasmine takes the time, to get all those things from her bag. And it's just, that's like a comic's instinct too. Something goes wrong on set. So it just looked very, incredibly natural. It was just, really happening. Like you're not even watching a movie. And, I'll say it in front of her, I'll say it behind the back. I mean, just one of the greatest I've ever seen. I'm in awe of her.